Audio and video recorded, so, and my mic just went on. And we have mics in the room now, so you can watch this at home if you're watching already, you know that. And you can also watch this again if this wasn't enough for you tonight. You can go home and watch it over and over and over again. So first thing is review and act on acceptance of minutes of the August 2022 meeting minutes. Did everyone have a chance to peruse the minutes?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the August meeting.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And next we're going to move into review of and approval of bills and expenses. What do we have?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing this one.
Okay. Nothing coming in? Well, okay. Well, fine. So that's good. And then we're going to go into public participation. I understand we have one person here to do that. Mr. Foley, if you can come on up, just kind of sit at the desk. Just introduce yourself. Give us your address just for the record, Peter.
Sure.
If you have any thing you want to, any material you want us to review, please, you can give that to Angela, I guess, and
Okay.
she can pass it around.
I brought a statement.
Okay,
I'll provide copies to Angela.
thank you.
And, I also have a photograph.
Perfect.
I'd like to thank Angela for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and the same to all the commissioners.
Again, your name and address, sir?
Sure. My name is Peter Foley. My home address is Chatham, Massachusetts. Do you want the street address? Yes.
Please.
Yeah, 162 Horizon Drive, Chatham, Massachusetts, and I work in Natick. I have a small business in Natick.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I'm Peter Foley. I'm a master sculler and rower who experienced a concerning incident on the lake on Saturday, the 10th of September, close to the shore near the Lake Park Beach, below the Narrows, at approximately 8:45 a.m. I came to provide you with an accurate account of the facts so that you may consider risks to non-motorized boaters when wake boats are operating. Before I relate what happened, I want to share that I am a native of Worcester, a graduate of St. John's, where I learned to row under Coach Jay Foley, who is no relation. Coach Foley taught us not only how to train hard and race fast, but also much about decorum and respect. Also, I want to mention how Chief Ken Burns was also revered by our crowd. Though he founded the Shrewsbury program, he allowed St. John's to row from their boathouse. He also recruited us to be stake boat boys at the Eastern Sprints, which was a special honor. Before enrolling at St. John's, I learned how to sail under Al Fern at Community Sailing. In short, the lake is a rare gem of a place, and the people who get involved there can have positive experiences, whether in sailing, rowing, or other boating activities. I learned how to scull in New York City on the Harlem River, where the Columbia crew coach gave me boathouse privileges, even though I was not a Columbia student. Rowing on the Harlem was a crucible. It is a tidal commercial waterway with plenty of barges and tugs and large tour boats. One summer during college, I sculled at the Shrewsbury Boathouse, thanks to the generosity of Floyd Ploss of WPI. During my years in Washington, D.C., I sculled on the Potomac and have also rowed and raced in regattas in many venues around the Northeast, including harbors. Also, I have managed or volunteered at many collegiate regattas, and I regularly serve as in the umpire corps at the head of the Charles Regatta. On the 10th of September, I launched from Donahue at approximately 8:30 a.m. There were many crews launching at that time. It was to be the shakedown row in the single I recently purchased from Allen Height. The day was spectacular, with very light wind and virtually no chop. The road to the Narrows was uneventful, with a few motorboats going by. It is worth mentioning that until that day, I had never been even partially swamped by a motorcraft of any kind. A skilled sculler can often adapt to avoid getting water in the cockpit from reasonably sized motorboat waves if they can be seen before they reach the skull or the shell. This time, the waves literally came by surprise, over my right shoulder, and completely filled the cockpit, rendering the single semi-submerged. I immediately exited the boat, knowing how shallow that spot is from my experience in swimming there as a boy, and I beached the boat. When I turned around, I viewed a motorboat with 4 occupants. Actually, I later found out that there were 5 occupants in the boat, as you can see in the photograph. And I expressed my shock. A male in the boat asked if I was okay and if I needed help. I replied that I was not okay and requested that he call the police. He only said, "I did not see you." He also said, "I thought the crew boats were done for the day." By the way, when I rowed back to Donahue, there were still 8s rowing toward the Narrows. After I emptied the cockpit, I relaunched the Skull and paddled out to the motorboat. Nobody in the boat said a word. I simply asked them to consider the danger of a motorboat can present to scullers, and then I paddled away. However, I had taken a picture of the motorboat with my cell phone from the beach, which I have submitted. Afterward, from a close look at my photo, which is time-stamped by my phone as 9:01 a.m., I realized that the boat is a Malibu, one manufactured with a very powerful engine and other features which enable it to generate sizable waves for wakeboarders. I ask that you consider some precautions toward increasing the safety of non-motorized craft on the lake. My concern is that had I been a novice rower, or if it had occurred in a deep part of the lake in October or March, this could have been serious. Had the fellow on the boat offered an apology, I would not be before you tonight. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and for the service that you provide to everybody who wants to be part of activities on the lake. Can I answer any questions?
Typically on the public comments, we don't really get into the back and forth stuff. So I would like to be able to communicate or have a discussion with you after this. Doesn't have to be tonight, but there's a few questions I have about this. So if you wouldn't mind, you can either leave your phone number or some kind of contact info.
Angela has my contact info,
Okay.
and I'd be happy to.
So if
She has my cell.
that's okay, then I'll reach out and I do have a couple of questions about it.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for coming in. All right. Is that anyone else, Angela? Or?
No.
Okay, thanks. All right. Commissioners' reports. I will start off with that, I guess. It seems like the lake is getting a little bit quieter. There's certainly a lot more, there's certainly still a lot of activity on Flint Pond by me, so I can say that as an eyewitness. And mostly jet skiers. The water skiers have actually kind of slowed down a little bit. I think it's because Bill was just saying that he hadn't seen any skiers out in the morning. I think it may be some, it's a little chilly out there in the morning. So that's a good news. Last night, I attended the Worcester City Council meeting regarding the jet ski ban at Indian Lake. So there was a fair amount, not a lot, but a fair amount of participation from residents of Indian Lake. I didn't hear anybody that was against a jet ski ban step up and speak. And I did speak in Worcester's public comment section and had asked them on behalf of the commission that, they consider the impact that moving or banning jet skis on Indian Lake is going to have on Lake Quinsigamond, and has had actually on Lake Quinsigamond. So there was a lot of talk last night about how, mellow and nice the lake was this year, and they didn't have a lot of activity, and people could kayak and swim around, and the birds were singing and the sun was out and all that. So, and it was good. I'm glad for them. But I did explain to them that was not our experience on Lake Quinsigamond, where we've had a very busy year, and especially in growth in areas like Flint Pond, Browning Beach, which has gotten better thanks to Worcester PD, and just all around the lake. So, I'm pretty sure that there's a rental, and at this point right now, an unpermitted rental operation going on. I believe it's at Flint Pond, and I'd like to work to, get that nipped in the bud. But that's essentially what it is. I believe that one counselor, everybody voted yes for this ban on the council, except for one counselor who did what they call a hold. They held the question for the next meeting. So he stopped doing that. That was Counselor King, who, interestingly, family used to own Tatasset Beach and spent a lot of time on Lake Quinsigamond. I don't think he did it just for Lake Quinsigamond, although we were mentioned in the thing. I was the only person who would raise an objection, I guess, to the jet ski ban at Indian Lake. And when they referred to that later on in the meeting, they referred to me as a resident of Shrewsbury and didn't really identify the commission. So I don't know quite what that's indicative of from their view of what the commission does or what our concerns are, but that's basically how it played out. I suspect that at the next meeting, unless there's some other procedural thing that they can do, that will probably pass. What Councilor King was interested in knowing, he just wanted more information, and one of the things he wanted to know was, who exactly owned the boat ramp and the land, and was it in fact in conflict with the state statute that if you're in a great pond with over 75 acres, that you cannot ban jet skis. So I think that's what they're trying to figure out. If there's going to be any conflict there, and if this is actually enforceable down the road. There's not a whole bunch that the commission can do to stop, Indian Lake or any other lake from banning jet skis, and/or have the state sign off on it. So we'll see how that works out. My feeling is that that we'll have to take a strong look if the state signs off on this ban of what Lake Quinsigamond can do. And there was some comments made last night that Lake Quinsigamond can handle the traffic because we're so much bigger and whatnot. And although we are a 775-acre lake, it's big, it's long, but our geography is we are a big lake that basically behaves like a small lake, because a lot of the water is 600, 500 feet wide. So it really looks like a small lake if you're in any particular spot in the lake. It's not that big. Flint Pond is certainly, I think it's under 75 acres over there, so that's pretty small for the concentration of 15 or 16 jet skis that are buzzing around on a Saturday and Sunday there. And that with the added issue that none of the law enforcement boats that are currently on the lake now can get to Flint Pond. They can't get under the Stringer Dam. So that's a area that I'd like to explore later on and say, hey, you know, we got to put a boat there. I talked to Sergeant Garman about that, about the new Worcester boat. It sounds pretty fancy, so I'm assuming it's probably going to have a rigid hard top on it, and that's probably not going to go under there. But there is another boat that Worcester has that, you know, we may be able to access that can, in fact, get under the Stringer Dam. So that would be extremely helpful for our issues over there. Because essentially right now, law enforcement cannot patrol water, on the water at least, they cannot patrol a third of the lake. So, and right now that's becoming a busier and busier third of the lake. And it's because the operators know that the police boat cannot get over there. And every once in a while, an EPO jet ski will sneak over. That's happened. I didn't get stopped actually, but he went by and commented that gave me the thumbs up because I had my vest on my paddleboard. So he was happy that I was, you know, following the safety rules over there. He did stop another woman that I talked to who did not have a vest on her kayak, and he didn't write her up, but he you know, reminded her that she's supposed to have one of those. So they're doing their job out there when they're over there, and that's good. But you know, there's, I don't know, something like 119 EPO officers in the state. So, you know, they're not always going to be able to come onto Lake Quinsigamond or any one particular lake at any particular time. So, but I appreciate when they're over there doing their thing. So, but that's, I think that's all I have for now. Oh, I'm sorry, and Angela may have more to say about this, but I also attended the coaches meeting, the crew coaches meeting, I believe it was a week ago Tuesday. Yes? And what's that?
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, Patrick Diggins provided a list of things that he wanted to go over with the coaches, and it basically falls into line exactly what we were asking for, as far as, you know, traffic patterns, you know, how they're using it, interaction with other boaters, and not going more than two abreast on the lake. And so, you know, the coaches have been informed, and basically with all this stuff we're asking to be included in what they should be doing and should not be doing. So I appreciate that. I hope that everyone follows that. I don't know if that's going to, you know, stick, but I really appreciate the effort you did on that, Patrick, and thanks for hitting all the points. That's it for me. Mr. Piker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just reiterate for those people who live on the lake on the Worcester side that have feelings about, you know, the inevitable increase of jet ski traffic on the lake. If jet skis were to be banned on Indian Lake, they should try to participate. They should go to that next meeting. They should talk to their district and/or city councilors about how they feel about that. I mean, the world is ruled by those who show up to a significant degree, and you don't show up and speak up, and then, you know, if the decisions are made that may not be, you know, in your favor, but you can be left to, so to speak, blame yourself for not having taken the opportunity to go speak up about it. But let me move along if I can, Mr. Chair. Number one, you know, even as late as today, I saw the eagles are still in their nesting area on the island, which brings me to another subject, and that is Drake Island in terms of its use. From my knowledge of eagle behavior, they're nesting in February. I think they lay their eggs in March. And from what I've seen over the course of multiple eaglets that have been raised on Drake Island over the past 5-8 years, the eaglets are bigger than the adults, and they're flying around in July. I have some concerns that at a certain point in the season, like from August 1st on, I'm just making a comment, might Drake Island be accessible to boats, because the lake has got a lot of traffic. There's a lot of boats that are anchoring here and there throughout the lake, rafting up. And if it's not going to be really relative to domesticated eagles at this point, of trauma to them, in August to have people pull up to the shoreline. Might it take away some of the inevitable traffic issues in terms of the number of boats that are now just anchoring here and there throughout the lake? The lake isn't that big, and I have some concerns about that. It's something I think that is worth considering, in that I can understand the sentiment of wanting to keep Drake Island off limits relative to the eagles nesting, but when the eaglets are flying all about in July, the eaglets, that is, their hatchings, and from what I've seen in terms of eagle behavior on the lake at this point, and at that point in the season, they've become familiarized with boaters. And I don't think they are particularly traumatized. I see people pull up their boats near the shore and look up at the eagles with binoculars and this and that during the year. So, I mean, that's just a comment. Moving along. I've asked it before, but I'm just curious about this pumping station that's part of the Lake Ave sewerage network in terms of what's going on Bridle Path. I have yet to find out anything about that, but I would love to know more. Number 4, hopefully we can let everybody tonight know when the drawdown date is, because I think that's going to be important. Number 5, I saw some correspondence about open fires on town property. I mean, you can't have a fire on the waters of Lake Quinsigamond, but I don't know if people have been having campfires at Gouch Micro Park or anything like that, if that's of issue. But it's not really within the Lake Commission's purview, but it's, I think, a parks issue then at that point in terms of enforcing it. Moving along, this is what I have last to say. I've been on the lake a lot. And I've taken my boat between Ramshorn Island and Lincoln Park Towers and Lakeshore Condos. And I've gone along that shore where the Lake Ave pumping station is recently. Last week. Let me say this, that there has been a gross amount of weeds that are now growing between Ramshorn Island and the Lincoln Park Towers, and there's a large mat of weeds from the Lake Ave pumping station south along the Worcester shore. It goes for maybe 300 or 400 feet, both of which the extent of the weed growth I have never observed before, the extent of it. I have some concerns that, if the city of Worcester could help in terms of a grant for harvesting, treatment, that if the city can find its way to get some money together for Indian Lake and to finance duck ramps on Institute Pond, the city of Worcester should help out in terms of looking to find some money to eradicate these particular patches of weeds, which, I mean, we all know, relative to overflows at the Belmont Street drain and relative to the Lake Ave pumping station. I don't think it's coincidental that there's that much weed growth in these 2 particular areas that I just brought up. I think the city should try to make some good faith effort to amend what has become an offense to the lake, and to try to find its way to get some money to eradicate those particular growths of weeds. I'm not, Mr. Chair, looking for a discussion of it at this time, but I've saw it. It's distressing. It's much more than previously, and it's not just incidental. It's consequential, I believe, in terms of the overflows this year from the Belmont Street drain and the overflows at the Lake Ave pumping station. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Piker. Just a quick question. Do you know what kind of weed it is?
The ones between Ramshorn Island and Lincoln Park Tower are varied. I can tell you that. They're varied. There's different types of weeds. The weed mat from the Lake Ave pumping station, Worcester side down about 300 feet, seems to be a bright green weed, and it's not grass. I think it's something else. But it's a large patch of weeds that I've never seen before.
Is it living? I mean, is it up on top of the surface, or is it?
Yes. It's on top of the
So
surface.
it's
The one-
floating on top of the surface?
Yes, in both areas, oh, yeah.
Okay, so are there roots floating on top of the surface as well, or
I don't see any roots, I didn't see any roots.
so it's not tape grass?
Well, there's lily pads and there's varied weeds between Ramshorn Island and Lincoln Park Towers, and it looks like one particular type of weed that's starting again, off the shore of the Lake Ave pumping station going south along the Worcester side. And it runs about 300 feet, and it's probably about 50, 70 feet wide, but it's a significant mat of weeds.
Okay,
I'm just, again, Mr. Chair, I may not know all the various varieties of weeds that there is, but again, far more than I have previously observed, and we know about the overflows. City of Worcester, please help us out. Again, if they can find a way to find grants to have duck ramps to assist ducks at Institute Pond, couldn't they find a way to, at this time, to, make amends? I mean, I have some concerns that there's been meetings, to say, yeah, this is what happened at the Lake Ave pumping station, all well and good. But here's some consequence, I think, of that insult to the lake, that the city should, take some initiative in good faith to look like they want to do some remediation. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
all right, thanks. Just to kind of say this, that Ramshorn Island, that patch, right, that whole section right there is a target for us for treatment. Jacqueline is not here, so I want to ask her about the weed map, because the city was doing that this year, and I haven't seen one yet, so I want to kind of go back through there. It was a little challenging, it was a stumbling block, actually, when we went to treat some of the typical areas that we had, because we didn't have the map, and it was difficult for the applicators to figure out where they're supposed to apply the chemicals. So that's an issue, and hopefully that won't happen again. But I know from past that particular area right there is a target treatment area. So it may be because they didn't treat it, they didn't hit it this year, that you're seeing more than you did in the past.
Mr. Chair, if I could, the water passage between Ramshorn Island and Lincoln Park Towers is almost fully choked with weeds. So it's an issue in terms of even flowage of the lake, so.
All right. Okay, thanks. All right.
Mr. Chair, we recognize anybody from the audience?
Someone got a question? Yes.
Ironically, I was sent a picture today about what Chairman Pike is talking about. I just sent it to you. The weeds in between Ramshorn and Lincoln Towers.
You said you sent it to me, or
I
you?
just sent it to you just now.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. All right, thank you. All right, anything else? All right, so, who's next? Sergeant Vito's, he's not here. Sergeant Garman.
Labor Day weekend, we issued 3 citations, 11 warnings, and we removed 1 boat for loud music because you guys made a complaint that music on some of the boats were out of control. What it was the guys we had at the pump station during Labor Day weekend, they heard the music, called into the boat, the police boat, they had them stopped, advised them that the music had to be turned down, not knowing that there was officers at the pump station, came back down towards the pump station with his music blaring. We notified the boat again, and we removed him from the water. So we understand that the music is loud on some of these boats. We tried to address it as best we could, but it was the guys on the on the land that actually were able to facilitate the issue by seeing it twice. We tried to be there 7 to 7 on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I think just on Sunday we were there for only till 4 o'clock. I heard some people did show up from residents later on that I talked to on that Sunday, but I just didn't have the manpower to staff from 7 to 7. We did the best we could. Hopefully, the upper administration will allow for next year too, for the 3 major holidays, which we think are the main issues on the lake. Not that other weekends aren't, but it seems that the 3-day weekends are more prevalent for the pump station, where large parties from out-of-towners, like I said, this summer, one one group was from, Memorial Day weekend was from, July 4th weekend was from like Chelsea, Lynn, and Revere out that way. We had removed and stuff like that, so. But that's the extent of our, Labor Day weekend patrol. We've only had people on the water twice a week in the last 2 weeks because of weather.
Okay. Well, this is good. Not that having to write citations is good, but it's good that, getting out. I especially am appreciative of the loud music. I think that's kind of how you have to do it, because they're going to do exactly what you just said, that they're going to turn it on. I know that that's a cat and mouse game for law enforcement out there, where they'll shut it down, you go on your way, and they'll turn it back up again.
Yeah.
Like a
Their car.
like teenagers. So, yeah. Anyway, good. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. When's the new boat coming in?
Hopefully by the summer.
Hopefully by next summer, or you just said summer? Some summer, right? Yeah. Okay.
Today's the last day of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know my lieutenant and captain are still preparing.
Yeah.
My lieutenant mostly is still preparing the specs they want for the boat.
Oh, so we still got time to say a collapsible top.
Yeah, But
Throw that in.
I'm sure they'll be on the water. He's gone and visited a few
Yeah.
companies and stuff like that. My lieutenant, so I'm sure he'll be on the water
Yeah.
for Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I skied a few times on Webster Lake this year, and I can't, and the police boat was out there patrolling because we had an event, and I can't remember if the thing had a hard top, or not a hard top, but a rigid,
It does. Has the blown up the side, the blow up ones.
yeah, it has,
it does,
that has that.
Yes.
But I don't know if you could collapse.
No, I've been on the boat because we actually
Took a ride on it.
took a ride on the
Yeah,
Webster boat because
Yeah.
we looked at the brig.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted, the brig, but unfortunately with what's going on in Ukraine, the factory shut down.
Yeah.
But we were on that boat, and it's aluminum. It can't fold down or
It can't
anything like
count
that.
that.
It's
All right. But we have the other, you still got that someplace in storage, right? The other
We
boat,
do.
the EPO, the old EPO.
yes, we do the OPO boat.
Yeah,
That's something I'll bring up with my administration next year. If
right.
maybe, if possible, we could dock it at the old where the condos are over there.
Yeah.
That's something we can look.
I
into.
can assure you that if you need a place to dock that boat, we can find it. Yeah,
Okay. So
you'll have unlimited access to, and you can get to it, and it's going to be safe.
Okay.
So,
But I will bring that up for next. I will bring
All right.
it up for next summer.
all right, thank you. Perfect. Thanks for all the work you guys are doing out there, too. All right, moving along, Mr. Polito.
Just one thing, last night, the Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions for the town of Shrewsbury at the Dunedin Rowing Center to build a new dock, which would include removal of an old dock and making the new dock handicap accessible. It's going to be made out of a pressure-treated type of wood and set on helical piles that are going to be on the shore or in the lake. We asked a few questions on the design, and we asked if they had all the necessary permits, if they had talked to the Army Corps. They said they had not. So in the end result, we did issue the order of conditions, and if the town needs to get a permit, they'll have to go get an Army Corps permit if that's needed.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, a question on that?
yes.
The dock that exists there now had the upper part that connects to the land replaced last spring, and they replaced the manufactured plastic-like rough surface planks that were on it with smooth cedar. And I have heard numerous complaints particularly from people from the boat club, when it's perfectly fine when it's dry, but when it's wet, you slip on it. I have personally slipped on it at least twice, once this spring, once this summer, on a rainy morning carrying a shell down. That smooth cedar wood is very, very dangerous compared to the previous textured manufactured material that's been on it, at least for my knowledge, the last 13 years. So I would hate to see this whole new dock was made with smooth wood and was much more dangerous than the existing one.
All it said was it's made out of pressure-treated wood, so it didn't specify cedar or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If pressure treated, it's going to be a pine.
Yeah, it'll be a little rougher, it'll have a lot more
Yeah.
splinters than cedar, but it won't be as textured as the many, I don't know the brand names of the many textured artificial deck planks that are
Right.
made out of
Composite.
plastic composites.
Right, so also we did, part of the order is that they have to come here, talk to the commission,
Great.
discuss what.
Yeah.
what's going on.
The,
But that is a real safety concern because the original part of the dock has got the slant on it.
The dock that they're removing is not the dock with the.
right, they're going to put a new dock in.
The dock that they're removing is the dock that they park the coaches boat.
Okay, all right,
Got nothing to do with.
right. All right, that's a flat dock, it's not slanted, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll wait till those guys get here before we stick our 2 cents worth in there. Was there a discussion about how they're going to maintain the dock?
No.
Okay, because in order to maintain a pressure-treated dock, you gotta treat it, you gotta stain it every so often,
They
so.
were not going to stain it because that was asked. There was no stain.
All right. Okay,
Because we asked if they were going to stain it, and if they were going to stain it, how would they prevent it from going into the water?
that would be my question.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
how are you gonna mitigate that part of it?
So
Yeah.
there was no stain.
Okay. Is that gonna be part of the order of conditions that you can't stain it, or?
We didn't make it part of the order.
Okay. Because I suspect that that's gonna happen at some point, because otherwise the thing's gonna rot out. And the other question I have for that is the helicoils, which my understanding is you would have to go to Army Corps because you're digging in the bottom of the lake to drill those things down. But, I'm gonna, just because this is what I do for a living, I'm gonna say that that site is not conducive to a permanent dock. So, my feeling is that sooner or later, the ice is gonna take it.
Well,
That's, they can deal with that, because it's just,
correct. We
yeah.
issued the order based on what was presented.
Right.
If the town has to get any more permits that are required, they'll have to do so. But they have an order. There are some conditions, one of which is that they have to come to this commission and make a presentation.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So, Mr. Nelson, you're up.
Okay, I have a couple of comments and then one comment to relay from some members of the boat club. Certainly, the lake has been quieter since Labor Day, particularly in the mornings from 5 to 9. I personally, on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, haven't run into a water skier again since Labor Day, so I find it much more enjoyable. Certainly, the college crews are out there mornings and afternoons, and I must say that they're incredibly polite this year. And that sound travels over the lake, and more times than I can think of, I've heard coaches shouting to their eights, watch out for the signal ahead. And it's been very nice, even though there's a large number of eights out there now in the morning, sharing the lake with them compared with the motorboats. The one important thing I want to say is a question that I've had from the coxswains at the Donahue Rowing Club. All spring and early summer, they're out there at 5:30, and it's bright and sunny. Now, from sort of 5:30 a.m. to, depending on the cloudiness, to maybe 6:15, 6:20, it's pretty dark out on the water. And one complaint is, unfortunately, about the new buoys. A couple of them have almost hit the 2 middle buoys, and the one, it's not a complaint, it's a suggestion, I guess. They say the 2 middle buoys at each end are not lined up straight to one another. So if they were lined up and they missed the first one, they knew they'd miss the second one. Now, when they get through by the first one safely, they have to start looking for the second one because they're diagonally off from one another. So they're just suggesting now that it's dark, it would be much safer if those 2 buoys were in a straight line parallel to the lake, so that they only had to make sure they were in the right position once instead of twice. So they asked me to mention this at the meeting.
Okay. Well, look, I know that buoy is out of place from where it should be, and I'm not sure if that was an issue with the bottom and it drifting. So we'll make sure that gets lined up at some point. It may not happen this season, because those things are probably gonna be coming out
Yeah.
pretty soon anyway, but we'll make sure that happens. The question I'm gonna kind of ask back to the rowers is that, if you can't see the buoys, it's likely that no one can see you. So they are definitely lit up. Yes?
Yes, what I'm talking about, the people that are out there from the 5:30 to 7, the competitive women's crew and the competitive men's crew. They're in eights. The eights have club lights, the red and green front and back,
Yeah.
the white highlight on them. They're well lit up. It's a requirement. They can't go up, it's club
Right.
rule, they can't even go out in the dock until they have their lights on.
Okay, good. So on the boat, where's the lights positioned?
The red and green lights, one is at the bow, one is the stern. The white light varies. It literally, in some cases, can be on the, if it's a single, on the hat of the person on a single. On the eights, I'm not exactly sure how to describe where it is, since I don't row an eight and haven't been in one for a while. But it's somewhere closer to the coxswain in the rear than it is where the 8 rowers are. Could you help? Where do you put on the college eights, the white light?
Just to the stern of the coxswain.
The coxswain, okay.
All right. I guess, Patrick, we kind of had this discussion the other night, is, my concern is the height of the light.
Right, and if I may.
Yep, of course.
We do have the regular navigational lights, but also on the information that we hand out to all the coaches is, and we've done this since we first came up with those rules in conjunction with the commission. We recommend a strobe as well,
Okay,
because it makes every boat that much more.
right. There's something that someone can see. Because that's the problem. If it's foggy or if it's dark, and you're in a regular boat, you're going to be below the sight line of the boat, even if they're going, at a legal speed.
You can get inexpensive strobes that you could either put on the back
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
hat or put
Yeah,
it in the
just something to keep,
Right.
for their own safety.
Their 2 launches have the strobes mounted, I think for the first time early this spring on
Yeah.
them.
The launches.
The launches
Yeah,
do, but
I'm more.
I'm not sure the eights
Yeah,
do.
I get them on the 8s, too. That would be my,
I'll mention it to them next.
yeah, if they're going to be there at that time of day, and that kind of visibility, then that's, they should do that,
Yeah.
It's a little nervous, it makes me a little nervous, because they don't, because at that point, they don't have vests or any kind of flotation in that boat, so if someone hits them, it's gonna not be good. Good, okay, is that it?
Yep.
All right, thank you. So, review and act on new dock permits?
None.
All right. We know we have one coming at some point. Huh? From Donahue, to come in. So, okay. An update on the lake management plan. Update on weed mapping, we just kind of discussed that, so I don't have it in my hot little hand yet, so hopefully that'll happen soon. I thought it was done, but I guess not. The pilot study for natural heritage. So the pilot study came back. It came back in a real positive manner for us in our treatment plan, in that the Procyllicore did in fact work. It was effective on the milfoil, and did not seem to affect the rare that we have in there. So both the narrow leaf pondweed that we had in there, Potamogeton, and the actual vasei, which is the rare version of that Potamogeton, came back. So that was a kind of a good thing. And my understanding is at least well, we only treated in Half Moon, but of the 2 areas, we had a Half Moon and then we had the control area, which was Old Faith. So we are looking to, we just asked for an appointment with Natural Heritage to go back and get permission to treat in other areas now that have the rare in it. So that would include Old Faith, and I believe there's some spots in the just south of the Stringer Dam that also have the VACI in it that we'll be able to treat now too. So right now, the permit, basically, we can treat from the north end down to a little bit past Ram's Horn Pond by the pump station, which we've been doing for the past several years. And then from there to Route 20, it's been basically unavailable for us to treat there. So any milfoil, and the only real big patches of milfoil that were cropping up over there north of the Stringer Dam was Old Faith and Half Moon. So Half Moon, we were able to knock back a little bit. The way the Priscilla works is you don't use Priscilla in the same place every year. So you have to kind of take a year off and let it kind of go back. It should knock it back a little bit. I think Half Moon Cove was much better this year, the part that got treated. There was a little confusion, I think, where for some reason, all the milfoil didn't go out on the treatment we did in 2021, but we'll make sure that doesn't happen again in 2023. So if we get permission to treat there. So that's good news. Also, just as a kind of a side note of that, I was out the other day on the paddle board, and I did notice there's still a crop of water chestnut in that south of the Stringer Dam area there. So, it's not as big as it was, but it's probably, a third of the room. So it's not a small one. It's probably another rowboat full over there. So that's still going on. And we did treatment on Newton Pond. I did speak to a Newton Pond resident, a Boylston resident, who asked me to notify, that was you, sir?
Yes.
He asked me to notify him, and I said, yeah, we would if we had a list. So I said that we actually had people go down there and physically put them on the houses. But apparently yours tricked us because the mailbox is in Shrewsbury, so we just thought you already had the address. So so we're gonna do that again. So did it get better?
It everywhere except in front of my house, as it turns out. But
Yeah.
I am going to get you that list. I put it out to my neighbors.
Okay.
Most of them responded.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I'm hoping to get you all of them.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's
And thank you for everything.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. So that's good. And so the drawdown proposal for permits for Newton Pond. I'm not exactly sure what happened to that effort with ESS, but I don't have a word of what's going on with that at this point. My feeling is that probably at this stage that the drawdown will not happen at Newton Pond this year. So we're going to swing back and we're going to keep at this. And the Grafton CPC project, we did get the report. Bill and I had a phone conversation a week ago Friday with the lead person on it. Bill probably has a lot more insightful comments about the project as we know it now. I think, but both of us agree that there's a lot. I think, what was it? That thing, like 1,000 pages or something? It was
1,910.
1,900, so 2,000 pages. It was what's that? Twice as big as War and Peace, right? So it's a lot of information, a lot of history on there, a lot of data, and I think there's a lot of useful information that we can cipher through. But my feeling is that it would be helpful, maybe as a next phase, is to kind of filter through that and see what we can do and what we can't do down there, and move forward to see if there's any way we can mitigate things. So there was some interesting things revealed there, but we need to kind of take that information and make a plan out of how we're going to respond.
Oh.
Make sense?
Yeah, if I spend 2 minutes on an extremely brief summary, that 2,000-page report basically covers every hazardous waste spill and also a few projects to remove some of the hazardous waste from 1938 to the present day. Most of the really bad aspects came from the Wyman-Gordon plant, which of course was used by the military during World War II, and apparently winning the war was more important than worrying about what was being dumped in Flint Pond. So using that information, the rest of it was, there was just an unbelievable number over the last 60, 70 years of gas stations that don't exist around Route 20 and within a half mile of Flint Pond, and cleaning establishments that don't exist that spilled various small quantities of chemicals and things like that. In addition, a study was done looking at aerial photos going back over that whole interval and to see if there are any changes in the drainage into or out of Flint Pond, and basically could not conclude there were any major changes in the drainage. The particular problem was the further you go back in time, the worse the quality of the photos from the air, as well as the fact that a lot of the photos were taken at different seasons. In the summer there was weed coverage, in the winter there wasn't, so it's hard to interpret. But the general conclusion that the flow into and out of Flint Pond hasn't been changed in any major way, except some of the existing drainage under Route 20 has been clogged up with sediment over the last 50 years. Using that report, the second half of the task is to measure by taking samples of the sediments in Flint Pond and sending them to a lab to be analyzed. And in that meeting that Friday that Peter mentioned, we determined 15 points, 5 major points. Couple of them in the cove near where Wyman-Gordon has been dumping its drainage water into Flint Pond for the last 70 years. And then one in the major, the East Major Basin, 2 in the East Major Basin and 2 in the West Major Basin. And they'll sample the top 4 feet of sediment, which ESS sort of guesses will be most of the sediment that's been deposited in the last 50 years or so. And it's probably been done by now because that meeting was on the 9th of September, but the lab results won't be back probably for a month or so. At which point we'll have all of the information and we'll be able to use it to decide where we want to go from here. I went over my 2 minutes, I apologize.
Okay, well, it was still short and sweet, so thank you. Any questions about that on the board? Nope, okay, good. Thanks, Bill. An update from Jacqueline, who's not here. An update from the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. Ms. Kickham.
Hello, hi, I'm Barbara Kickham with the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. Our next meeting for the Lake Association will be at the Marine Corps League next Wednesday. You guys switched, so we're switching our week. September 28th, 7 p.m. We're continuing with our bacteria sampling and participating with the cyanobacteria monitoring collaborative that Jackie updates you on. We'll have results on the bacteria sampling next month. We hired, or what I shouldn't say hired, we have taken on a Worcester State University intern. She has helped us sample this summer, and she wanted to get college credit, so we're working with the professor, and actually Alyssa Hammond, our secretary, is also works at Worcester State in the geotech department, and she's going to help our intern with some of the data interpretation, getting the report that we submit to DEP, and QA/QCing the data and that sort of thing. She's going to help with a few projects and that we've been, just haven't had time to get to, and hopefully she'll be here next month. So she's working tonight. And I think, we keep forgetting to mention that the Coal Mine Brook Park is under construction now. That's been ongoing. They've cleared and well underway. And I had one question for the commission, which is, or a comment that I'd like to see what kind of project we could get for Shrewsbury and the CPC. They didn't get a lot of applicants this spring, or this fall, so I think we should do something, and we were talking about maybe doing the boat washing station or whatever for next year. We should, so if you need any help with that, I could help with that.
Yeah, the boat washing station, we got a little pushback from the Commonwealth that they want to wait and see how some of them work out. They don't have a lot of experience with them, and let me know if I'm stating this the wrong way.
I think if, I believe the city of Worcester is getting one this year, so if the watershed and the lake commission can see how this, how theirs operates, what the expenses are, then you would have better feedback, you know, you could present that to the state, because the boat ramp is state property, so they would have to sign off on the project.
Yeah, there's one in New Hampshire, one in Connecticut that's nearby, and then a lot in the Midwest. So the company actually has quite a bit of data. And
Right.
they, it's supposed to be very low maintenance.
They wanna like actually go and see it.
Yeah,
Right.
and Jackie has done that too, so,
Right.
yeah,
Th-
okay,
I thought the
that's
city
good.
was putting one
Hopefully
in.
next year.
I think, Hose Pond.
Yeah, I thought did they do that, or is
haven't-
that coming?
I haven't heard.
I think it's,
Can't even put a boat in Coast Pond.
it's in the.
It might be Indian Lake too, yeah. I think
Indian
it's
Lake,
Hose Pond.
it's on, the Grove Street.
Oh, it's at Morgan's Landing? Morgan's Landing?
No, the other, 122A, so where you go past where the dog hospital is on one side, there's the parking lot on the
Oh, so it's down there? Okay.
It's right in the parking lot right there.
All right. So, we can have that to fall back onto, I guess.
Is that a mobile one, or is that
Yeah, it's
fixed?
mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's it, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, and review correspondence, what do we have? Do we have any?
So I just included the letter that we sent to various groups into the public safety.
Oh,
Shrewsbury about campfires.
about
and
campfires on public
I know
property?
you said it doesn't relate to the lake, but it kind of does, because I know we've had conversations about the people that are boating, landing on town property, and then they're having campfires, so that's why we're just letting everyone know that campfires are not allowed. We do have signage, making sure law enforcement is also aware to help us enforce that.
Right, and the two main areas that we're concerned with on Lake Quinsigamond are Gouge Park, and probably more significantly is Oak Island. Because Oak Island, they have fires, and they actually, that was the site that they took the sign out that was concreted into the ground, said no fires, and they built a fire in the hole. So, kind of a funny
That was 2 years ago.
punk move.
Year.
I know. But I'm not letting it go.
I know.
So, the signs are back up. That's the good news. They haven't burnt those.
lasted this year.
They haven't burnt those down yet, but they still have fires up there all the time. They're cooking over there, and I think because we put a porta potty in there, not because of them, but we did it because of the attendant down there.
Yeah.
So I think they shut down the latrine that they had set up in the woods over there. But so thankfully that's not there anymore. But it still makes a mess. So and it was extremely dry this year. So that was my concern, that that thing can get out of hand real quick, and once it does, that property would have just gone up in a heartbeat. So it's extremely dangerous to do that, and mix that in with the whole alcohol consumption that's going on over there as well. So that's good. All right.
I had two more things before.
Yeah. Is there anything else you got, Angela?
So you mentioned the drawdown, and it's tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, November 1st. But everyone should be aware that if you go to the Town of Shrewsbury website, there's a green circle with an envelope. If you click on that, you can sign up for the Lake Quinsigamond listserv, because that's how we send out notification of when the drawdown is, when there's any lake treatment, so just want to remind people to join that listserv. And then also at your next meeting, that is when you should be reviewing your spring permits from the crew teams. So just plan ahead for that, for the next meeting.
What was the date of the drawdown you said again?
November
Well, it's
1st.
usually November
Okay.
1st.
Okay.
But where it's a Tuesday, I mean, they'll give us an exact date closer to the.
On or about November
Yeah.
1st.
Okay.
Did they receive the
Well, you usually reach out to them.
updated, okay, so you don't know if they've received an updated permit from
Permit.
Worcester Concom? Okay. All right, we gotta follow up on that. Because I think that's what that's what they're waiting for before they actually execute that.
Okay.
So it's typically on or about the 1st, so it could be the 2nd or the 3rd or whenever it is, and it depends on the weather and whatever he's.
It's usually not a weekend, it's usually.
Exactly, so it's, so there's some stuff around there, but it's gonna start soon, hopefully. All right, date of the next meeting.
Wednesday, October 26th, Mr. Chair?
No,
Yes?
October 19th,
October 19th?
yes,
Oh.
because we don't have a room on that,
On the 26th?
yeah.
Should we change our,
It's up to you if you want to.
on or about the last Wednesday,
Or the third Wednesday,
or whatever Wednesday that we can get the room?
if there's not school committee.
It is the
you
third
go to the
Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday, or if there's a fifth Wednesday, then
19th
it
is the
works.
third Wednesday.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
yes.
A question on that date, the 19th. I have had two requests, one from a group at the boat club and one from a resident on the lake shore.
Yep.
Wanting to know if definitely they're going to have that public discussion about the buoys at this October meeting on the 19th.
That's what I got scheduled for right now, unless something
I
changes.
thought we were.
That's,
Okay. I'll tell them unless something changes.
Right.
Sign up for the listserv, they'll get the agenda.
yep.
Yeah, I've signed up for it, and
Yeah.
I get the agenda, but they want to know more than a week in advance.
No, they know, a month in advance.
Okay, that's the plan. All right, so that said, unless there's anything else,
You make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we adjourn?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No? So voted. Thanks much.